Good day. My name is Ferranco, and I'm here to present my study, which is entitled Exploring Teaching Beliefs on Students Learning, a case study in urban junior high schools. For this presentation, I have 5 agenda. The first is the research background so that the audience can clearly know where the study is coming from. And then from that, I will go to provide a brief explainer of the research perspective, and then an explainer on the methods that I use to gather and analyze data. And from that, I will present the results or the findings, and then the conclusion. For the research background, a little story. The basic education curriculum in the Philippines shifted or changed in 2013. This is enacted through Republic Act 10533, or more commonly known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, or EBEC. So one of the biggest changes is, of course, the additional 2 years of basic education. Before 2013, the Philippines only had 4 years of high school, but through this law, they added 2 more years. So we now have senior high schools. But the focus of this research is the other change. In 2013, the basic education curriculum shifted from traditional teaching to learner-centered education. So a brief background of myself. I have been a member of the faculty of Far Eastern University in Manila since 2018. Since then, I have attended various training and retooling sessions, both as a participant and a facilitator. One of the staple reading material in those sessions is Bar and Tags from Teaching to Learning. So this material is also about shifting from the old to the new paradigm. The old paradigm is the traditional one, which looks at the teacher as the sole source of knowledge. So the goal of the teacher is to transfer knowledge to the students. And in the learning paradigm, everyone's experiences are taken into consideration in classroom activities. So sometimes the debates would get heated during those discussions because, as I can imagine, for some teachers, it is difficult to look at the students as equal. We have been so conditioned that the teachers shall know more than the students. And from this training sessions, I I became more enamored to the interpretivist paradigm when doing research. It is my belief that if you are a teacher who practices student-centered learning, um, you put more premium on the interpretivist paradigm as opposed to other research paradigms. And during those sessions, also, I got inspired or I got motivated in studying teachers' beliefs because, as I said, in 2013, the paradigm of education in the basic level in the Philippines also shifted from traditional to learner centered, and so that because of that, I wanted to study about their beliefs, and I was fortunate to reside in an area where there are two schools which are very different from one another. So in my paper, I labeled them as opposites, and the contrasts are presented in this slide. So one of the school is older and bigger and has more population in both students and teaching staff. So school A is older and school B is younger. School A is bigger and school B is smaller. So in taking into consideration stakes recommendation when doing a case study, these are also the boundaries that I've set for each of the cases. And when I've identified the schools, I was looking for a framework in which that will allow me to study teachers' beliefs, because according to literature, beliefs are very broad. It's a very broad topic. That's why I decided to adapt Gerald App's Foundation for Effective Teaching. So according to this article, um, we can find out about teaching beliefs if we ask teachers about their aims, what they believe about the aims of teaching, about how students learn, about the teaching and learning transaction, and the subject matter. And this is also the basis or the framework that I used in crafting my research questions. And of course, the data analysis process was also influenced by this framework. So the research questions, I set out to find out about what do junior high school teachers believe about teaching and learning, and what educational experiences shape their beliefs about teaching and learning, and to what extent do their teaching and learning beliefs affect their classroom practices. So I purposefully selected the participants because according to literature, selecting the participants purposefully in qualitative and emerging research is more appropriate than random sampling. So the participants profile, there were a total of 8 teachers per case, and they were interviewed uh, until data saturation was reached. They were selected based on the courses they teach and their years of teaching. So School A has teachers ranging from 3 to 18 years of teaching, while School B has teachers with 6 to 28 years of teaching. The courses they teach are Filipino, English, Science, Math, MAPE, which stands for Music, Arts, PE, and Health, and Social Studies. So I conduct the primary source of data are the semi-structured interviews, and the data gathered from them were thematized according to the codes to theory model by Saldana. After theming the data from each case, they were crossly analyzed. So I compared the results from School A to School B. So what my first findings that I found out that the teachers from the bigger school and the older school tend to hold more beliefs that are leaning towards the traditional paradigm, while teachers from School B have more learner-centered beliefs, which are more aligned to what is being prescribed in the curriculum. So it was somewhat of a deja vu from my training sessions, but it was a little different because whereas what we only had to contend during the training session was the teacher's resistance, I was finding out that there are other factors at play that will hinder teachers from practicing student-centered learning. The next is I found out that I asked the teachers about how they think their beliefs were formed. According to Fives and Gill, it's very important how understanding how beliefs are formed is very important because only through that understanding can we figure out whether the beliefs are changeable or not. So the main theme that emerged from the participants' answers that their formal education experiences influence their beliefs and the professional experiences. So for the formal education experiences, some teachers are aiming to replicate what they understood or what they experienced when they themselves were students. But some of them are also not trying to replicate what what they went through. So the professional experiences is that their beliefs have changed from when they were students until they faced or they saw the reality of Philippine classrooms. And at this point in the analysis, in the data analysis process, it is evident that there is some cause of concern, such as the fact that there are still teacher-centric practices being implemented in classrooms that are supposed to be learner-centered. Also, there is the issue that sometimes when reformers are successful in enacting a legislation into law, it stops there. This issue is replicated in other studies that I have come across while doing mine. Reforms in Turkey and Vietnam face similar issues. And those factors sometimes hinder teachers from practicing student-centered learning, even if they wanted to. So some examples are the class size or the teacher to student ratio. A lot of the participants cited that as one big hindrance in practicing student-centered learning. Other examples are the cultural factors. So sometimes the student-centered environment is not applicable because of different cultural backgrounds. So in student-centered learning, the students are expected to discuss with the teacher. So they are not expected to just sit there and receive what the teacher is providing them. But in some cases, sometimes the cultural background of the students do not allow them to speak back to elders. So some of the factors are very difficult to address. Not very difficult, but it will take some time to address. And at this point, so while government support through legislation are more than welcome, it is rarely enough for when you are aiming to change or to shift from one paradigm to the next. And this is where the next finding of my research comes into play. So when I asked the participants to address how their beliefs influence their practices, I have found out that there are four possible relationships between beliefs and practices. So the first is the belief, their beliefs influence their practices. And this is the accepted thought about beliefs and its relationship to practices. So when teachers who hold learner-centered beliefs are more likely to implement learner-centered activities and vice versa. So if you hold teacher-centric beliefs, you will still practice teacher-centric beliefs, teacher-centric activities. The second possible relationship is that the practices influence beliefs. Teachers can change their beliefs when they see the reality of Philippine classrooms. This is very common when student teachers leave their idealized classroom to go to their practice teaching at the tail end of their college life. So sometimes you learn about all the things that you should know about teaching. And then when you try to apply it, you sometimes see that what your teacher has taught you is not applicable to the classroom that you were given. The third possible relationship is that the beliefs and practices have no connection to each other. They don't influence each other. And this is when teachers forgo or abandon their beliefs in place of departmental memos or orders from superiors. And one of the example was that during the pandemic, Filipino teachers were ordered to identify most essential learning competencies or MELCs and change assessment activities to accommodate those learning competencies. And the last possible relationships that beliefs and practice have a reciprocal and interdependent relationship. So if the beliefs and practices have this type of relationship, beliefs and practice should be able to change according to the situation and experiences a teacher undergoes. So according to literature, changing beliefs, the most effective way to changing beliefs is to show the teachers how their beliefs affect their practices. So more than a government mandate, is also replicated in the training sessions that I have attended. It is not enough when a new paradigm is imposed on a group of people. Teachers should be engaged in dialogues and must be shown how their beliefs affect their practices. Otherwise, they will hold on to the beliefs they have formed because those beliefs were formed even way before all these reforms are being implemented. Sometimes the teachers themselves were just students when those beliefs were formed. And it's very difficult to change that, even if it's a law, even if it's a directive from the government. It will be very difficult to change if you don't engage the teachers um, in a dialogue and show them that their practices are not applicable anymore. It's not working because it's counterproductive to do the activities that they've been doing in the classroom if they go against the assumption of the curriculum. And as I conclude, let me leave you my leave you this quote from Bar and Tag. For many of us, the learning paradigm has always lived in our hearts, but the heart's feeling has not lived clearly and powerfully in our heads. And it's also Barentag that said that previous attempts to shift to the learning paradigm have failed, since reformers only tried to integrate the new paradigm to the existing ones. But it is very difficult to do so, considering each paradigm has a different set of assumptions. So, to ensure alignment of beliefs and practices, and thereby also ensure the success of the new curriculum, teachers must be lifelong learners, number one, but they also need adequate support from their superiors, from departments, from the government, and other relevant stakeholders. That's all. Thank you.